Today I'm sharing some beautiful handmade Christmas gifts you'll definitely want to try to make. Hey there, it's Donna. I'm so happy to have you joining me today. I'll be using some wood slices along with some mini wood pots for this first project. You're also going to need some taper candles. I got these ones from Dollar Tree and I have to say they're quite beautiful. They fit nicely in these little wood pots. We are going to be making some beautiful rustic candle holders out of these items. I'm going to start off by using some leaf green paint on the wood slices as well as the pots. I just needed one coat of each, and then I'll be allowing them to dry well. You'll have to excuse me right now. I am getting over a bad cold, so if I sound congested, you'll know why. If you don't want to use the green paint, you can definitely use a beautiful red or burgundy. Any color would look beautiful on these little pieces here. So I've allowed those to dry, and now I'm going to go over each item with some warm white craft paint. I am going to use 2 to 3 coats, and then again I will allow them to dry well. So once my paint pieces are all nice and dry, I'm now distressing them by using a sanding block, and I'm just sanding off little bits of the paint here and there just to help the green color come through. It is a really effective technique. I'm also going to do the same with the wood slices, but I ended up actually using a piece of sanding paper here. And I found that that was a little bit better to remove more of the paint because I was amazed at how well that craft paint stuck to the wood slice. So now I'm going to actually clean these up by using a rag. I wanted to get rid of all the dust off of this, and then I'm going to be gluing my pieces together. I didn't glue them together first because I knew that I would have an easier time distressing these pieces if they were sanded separately. And now I'm going to glue them now. I'm just using some hot glue. I'm pressing them together firmly until the glue sets. So now I'm going to give the pieces a coat of some matte varnish by Decor. It's the brand that I really like to use. You can see how the distressing just really pops now. It's a great technique and product to use, but of course use whatever you like as a sealer. So I'm going to allow those to dry well, and then you can start to decorate. I'm adding just a touch of this green hemp twine that I had in my stash. I'm just adding a simple little bow at the bottom or the base of the little candle holder, and then you can add any decorations you like at this point. I'm adding some little sprigs of some evergreen, and then I am also going to be adding some little mini pine cones. Some flowers or little bells would be pretty as well, and some berries. I'm just going to be using some hot glue to attach these little pieces. I have a foraging video where I show how I gathered these little pine cones. I'm using a mix of some hemlock and some cedar pine cones. I have never used cedar cones before, so I am excited to see how well these hold up, and I will let you know about that later on. So I'm just going to finish adding those little touches, and then I am going to make like a little gift set now. So I have my little candle holders, candlesticks that we made. I've got my candles, and I also picked up this candle snuffer from Dollar Tree. I was actually really impressed with the quality of this. So I'm just going to remove it from its packaging, and just to tie it all together, I'm adding a little piece of some hemp twine to the snuffer, and then I'm also going to use the same hemp twine to the candlesticks as a little bundle, and then you've got a sweet little gift set. This video is actually part of an amazing Christmas collaboration hosted by Liana DIY and co-hosted by Farm Charm Chic. There is a playlist with other content creators down in the description box, as well as pinned in the comments section for you to check out everybody else's amazing videos. So here is our beautiful little candle set. I think it would be a beautiful hostess gift or for anybody who loves candles. Dollar Tree carries these beautiful glass jars with these metal lids, and I thought it would be great to turn this into a gift. I'll be using this beautiful floral napkin that I had. Don't ask me where I got it. I've had it in my stash for a long time. I'll be using this gesso. It's Artist Loft brand and I got it from Michael's. It's a really nice smooth consistency and I really like it to use as a primer because that is what it is. Artists use it to prime their substrates. I find it actually works surprisingly well on metal. So I'm going to give the lid a coat of this gesso and then I'm going to allow it to dry well. Once dry, you can then use some decoupage glue in the matte finish. And I'm going to be adding this napkin to the top of our lid. I really wanted to create a nice decorative jar. I am removing the ply off the back of our napkin and I use some tape to get the back layer that sticks really snug against the pattern. That works really well. Now I get a lot of questions about what is the difference between decoupage glue and Mod Podge. Mod Podge is actually just a brand name. I don't use Mod Podge that often because I find it gets really tacky here where I live. So I gave a coat to the lid and then I'm going to press it down onto my napkin. There's lots of different techniques on how to do decoupage, so I definitely suggest doing a little search. I will have some links to some decoupage videos that I have. Those will be down in the description box as well. So once I've got the napkin in place, I like to go over the top with another coat, and surprisingly, it does end up absorbing quite a bit of it. I'm going to be trimming off the excess here now, and then I'm going to be working on the sides. So once you've got all that trimmed off, I'm going to add some slits to the edge just to create like little sections around the edge. And then I'm going to add some glue to the edge and put the little section down into the glue and add some glue over top of that. I figure that way here I won't have too many wrinkles if I did it this way, and it'll create a nice smooth finish. So another thing I get asked often is the way I pronounce decoupage. I am in Canada, so I do pronounce it a little bit differently. Decoupage is a French word, and I do live in a French-speaking country, so I guess that's why I pronounce it the way I do. So I've made it all the way around. I'm going to allow this to dry really well. I'm just pressing down any wrinkles that there may be, and then once it's dry, I'm going to take a sanding block and I'm going to remove the excess tissue around the edge. This works really well. Again, I'm going to be using my matte varnish here from decor. This will help it to be more durable because this is going to be handled quite often. I'm going to make sure to focus on the underside of the edge as well. I found this T label in Cricut Design Space, and I'm going to cut it out of some white vinyl, and I'm going to use that as the label to my jar as I wanted to create a nice beautiful jar for some tea. So here I've got some permanent white vinyl. You could use the removable one if you would prefer. I'm going to cut this down now just to make it easier for me to weed out all the excess material. And I actually accidentally made my label too big. I was okay with that because I am actually going to be using this tea jar for myself. I needed a new tea jar. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make myself a little gift here. So I'm just going to weed the vinyl here now. And then I am going to prep the surface of my jar. I'm going to just get some transfer tape here. I will have all the Cricut supplies used in this video linked down below for you if you want to check them out, along with the new Cricut Joy xTra machine that I was gifted recently. So I'm just going to adhere the vinyl transfer onto my transfer tape. I'm going to clean the jar with some rubbing alcohol and a rag because I didn't want any oils from my fingers to affect the adhesive for my vinyl. I'm going to now just lift up the transfer and then I'm going to apply the vinyl onto my jar. So you're going to see here how I made my label a little bit too big. That's all right. My eyes aren't working so great these days, so I think it actually looks pretty cool no matter what. So I'm going to apply that and then I'm going to burnish that until the vinyl transfers onto the jar, and then you just need to fill it up. I had dried this mint from my garden. I'm just going to crush it up a bit and then I'm going to add it to my jar. You could use store-bought loose leaf tea. I know you can get that in bulk stores, or you can fill this up with some tea bags instead. But as mentioned, I needed a new tea jar for my mint, so this is what I had made for myself. And it smells amazing. I love mint tea so much, especially in the wintertime during cold and flu season. And that's it, isn't it beautiful? This would make such a lovely gift for any tea drinker. For this project, you're going to need to grab a set of these wall shelves from Dollar Tree. And what's so great about these is that they are pre-drilled in 4 corners. I'm going to just get rid of the string and the hoop. You can set that aside for a future project, but we won't need that for this project. Now, I had done some flower pressing in the summertime, and I had been requested to make my own flower press, so that's what I'm going to show you how to do. And I thought these wall shelves would be perfect. You'll need a napkin, some screws that'll fit the hole, and I like to use the wing nuts because it makes it easier to loosen them up. An assortment of papers. I've got watercolor and this manila paper. I'm also going to use some cardboard and a manila folder as well. You just need some sturdier papers. I was thinking about using construction paper, but I decided not to. I'm going to give a coat of some off-white paint just to one side of each wood shelf. The reason why is because I'm going to be, again, decoupaging these pieces, and I didn't want the yellowness from the wood to come through our napkin design. Our wood panels are all nice and dry. Now I'm going to attach the napkin. You want to, again, just remove the different layers off the back of your napkin. I am going to first cut this particular napkin in half. This is a beautiful one. Again, I've had this in my stash for so long, I cannot remember where I got it. Sorry about that. But you know, you can get napkins from so many different places. So I would definitely just look around and see what you can find. Even Dollar Tree has some beautiful napkins. So I do need my napkin to be longer. The square pattern was just a little bit too short for the wood panel. So I'm going to have a little bit of overhang here. I'm just kind of lining it up just to make sure I've got a nice pattern to show here. And then I'm going to start to use my glue, and I'm going to just give one coat to the painted side of our wood panel, and then you can start to apply your napkin. So I'm just going to work in sections here because I don't want things to start drying and bubbling. I find that if you do it all at once, you end up risking your napkin bubbling. I'm going to work upside down so I can get my napkin right up to the edge because I really like that floral pattern, and I'm going to start to smooth it out and then go ahead to continue to add some glue and press my napkin in place. So now I'm going to add a layer of the glue on the top to seal it all in. The napkin does absorb quite a bit of the glue, so just keep that in mind, but you don't want to make it too saturated because that's when your napkin will actually start to move around and wrinkle. So I'm just smoothing it out a little bit. I'm going to poke some holes where the screws will be going, and then I will allow that to dry well. Once dry, then you can use your sanding block and just to remove the excess. Again, this is just the best way to do this. You could use some tissue paper instead or some decorative paper. You could even use fabric on this. That would be really beautiful as well. This would be a lovely gift for a gardener, don't you think? Okay, so now I'm going to seal it up with my varnish again. This will just make it more durable, and then I'm going to allow that to dry well. All right, so it's all nice and dry. I am now going to start to measure out my papers. I just wanted to make sure that my papers are going to fit within the screw area. And so I'm going to just cut my assortment down to size. And I did do some measurements. Now I'm using a steel ruler. and a craft knife, and you'll also want to do this on a flat surface. Now, I'm not going to give measurements this time around, and the reason being is because you might get some wood panels from the hardware store or some other pieces that maybe you already have in your stash, and you're going to drill your own holes in there. If that's the case, then you just have to make sure that you cut your papers down accordingly to the size that you need. I'm going to start off with cutting 2 pieces of cardboard down to size. That will be my template for all of my papers. So you can see it fits within the measurements I need. I do need to cut off the corners. Now I have a little mini flower press already, and that's how the papers were cut down for that particular press. They created some cardboard pieces and the corners were cut off. Again, that fits within where the screws are going to be to press all our bits together. I'm just roughly measuring them out, and then I'm going to cut off those tips. You can use the tip that you've cut off, so you've got them all exact. As you see me doing here, I'm just measuring, and then I'm going to do my cuts for each corner, and I'm going to do that again for 2 pieces of cardboard. I hope this is making sense. You'll see how it all comes together. So you can see it's fitting within our space. I'll do that again for the second piece of cardboard. And now I'm going to use that cardboard as a template on some watercolor paper. I am going to make just a total of 4 panels of the watercolor paper. I'm just going to trace around it, and then I'll be cutting that out. I'm also going to be doing 4 manila folder templates and the manila drawing paper as well. And I'm going to use my steel ruler along with my craft knife to cut each of these out. So you can see how well all of that is matching up. So now I'm going to start to put this together. I'm going to start off with cardboard, and I'm going to layer the rest of our pieces together here. And I'm using a little bit more of the manila paper. You could probably actually use maybe 2 sheets of the manila paper in between. It's up to you how full you want to make this. I'm ending with my second piece of cardboard, and then I'm going to sandwich this all together. And then you can start to use your wing nuts and your screws. I also decided to use some washers. If you don't have those, you can use some twine or a leather strap or some kind of binding to wrap around yours, and then you could add some weight to the top. But this is a gift, so I wanted to make sure that this would be easy to use. So I'm going to attach our screws and wing nuts. I discovered that I didn't clean the holes of the tissue out well enough, so I will end up having to go in here. I guess I didn't do that well enough. So now I'm going to add my screws, and I'm also adding the washers. That will just help to protect the surface of the napkin without destroying it. So with the wing nuts, you can see how easy it is to put that together. I just think this is a gorgeous gift for, again, the gardener or nature lover in your life, and it's such a personalized item as well. Dollar Tree has these makeup bags, and they're great to personalize. I needed to cut a piece of some parchment paper just to slip inside because I'm going to be using some heat, and there is a bit of a vinyl substance on the inside that can melt this bag together. So I'm just protecting that, and the parchment paper works well for that. I'm in Cricut Design Space, and I'm using this verse, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made," and I'm going to add that to the front of the makeup bag. You want to make sure when you do this, you mirror your phrase so then it will adhere to your bag properly, and then follow all the prompts in Cricut Design Space for this project. So I am going to be using my heat guide as well, because I am going to be using my mini press to adhere this vinyl to the makeup bag. So just follow all the prompts that you need for whichever product you will be using for this particular project. So those are my settings. I'm going to weed my phrase out here, but I needed to cut the 2 pieces apart because I am going to be adhering the phrase on the top and then the Bible verse on the bottom. And so I needed to keep these separate. So I'm going to just go ahead and weed this here. And then I'm going to start to prep the surface of our makeup bag to adhere these particular vinyls to the bag. I just double checked my settings, and now I'm just figuring out my placement, and then I'm going to start to work. You always need to just preheat your surface, and then you need to press the vinyl into place. And then I'm using parchment paper. You can also get some heat safe paper. I'm just making sure I've got it centered before I commit to this step. So I'm just going to adjust it slightly. And then again, I'm using my parchment paper, and I am going to just follow the instructions in the heat guide for Cricut Design Space. So I'm just going to go ahead and press this down. I am really liking this mini press. Cricut actually just recently sent it to me, and I'm so grateful for that. It makes working on smaller projects like this so much easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and then finish adding that bottom part, and then I'm going to go ahead and work on the top part using the same steps as before. Once you have those pieces in place and it's cooled down, you can then remove that backing off, and you can customize a little bag like this any way you'd like. I am actually going to fill this up with some goodies for my daughter. She is really into art, but I don't have all those goodies yet. So just as a sample, I'm adding some of these shimmer watercolor paints and some watercolor paper. And then just to show you that you can use these little portable paint palettes, I've got this Koi paint palette that it is used, but it has everything you need in there, a paintbrush and some different colors, even a paint palette. And they slip in a little bag like this so nicely. And then you've got a lovely gift. I noticed there's a trend going around right now to use wooden bowls as candles, and I found this one for $2 at the thrift store. I picked up these particular vanilla candles from Dollar Tree. They smell amazing, and I thought they would be so nice to use for this particular wood bowl. I needed the wick from inside this candle, so I'm just removing the packaging and the bottom sticker, and then I'm going to pull that wick out from the bottom, and then I'm going to use that as for my candle. Now, when you're using a wood bowl, you will definitely need to take some caution when you are burning that. So I'm just going to use that as my disclaimer right here, right now, just to be careful. I am using 2 candles because I want to fill this little depression glass bowl up as well. That's another trend I've been seeing where people will use either crystal or depression glass to make candles. So I'm using 2 candles. I'm using a double boiler, and I'm going to start off with 1 candle inside of a can. This is just from some tomatoes, and I'm going to slowly melt this. This took, I would say, about half hour to 45 minutes to melt 2 of these candles. I started off with 1, got it probably halfway melted, and then I added this second candle. And you can see I'm using a bamboo skewer just to help stir it around to melt it down a little bit faster. Here I've already added the second candle, and it is melting down nicely. You may need to adjust the water level as well as the temperature. Just keep an eye on this because this is wax and it is flammable, so you do need to take some extra precaution. Though I don't want my candle or wick to be floating around once I add my wax, I'm using just a dab of hot glue on the bottom of the wick, and I'm going to press it down in the bottom of my glass bowl as well as the wood bowl. I guess there are some like little candle tabs that you can use as well, but as a substitute, the glue works just fine. And then I'm straddling a bamboo skewer across the top, and I'm just going to wrap the rest of the wick in place just to help to keep it straight. I did these steps while my wax was still melting down. So my wax is all melted. I just removed it off the heat, and then I wanted to create like a little pour spout. So I'm just being very careful and squishing the can together a little bit. It'll just help make it easier to pour the wax. So I am working on a craft mat, and I've got some towels, and I've got an oven mitt. I'm being very careful here. I'm going to start to pour my wax and into my containers, and I'm being careful to get any drips of water. I don't want that to be getting into my wax either. So I'm going to pour the wax into the wood bowl first, and then I went and moved it, and I did make a little bit of mess on the rim of the bowl because I wanted to move that aside while I work on the depression glass, but I do end up cleaning that up off camera. So I'm going to go ahead and pour the glass now, and I have to say, these 2 candles was just enough for both of these projects. It was awesome. I am actually really excited to make these for gifts for other people, and they turned out so well. So it took about an hour to set up. They are still warm at this point, but I wanted to just trim down the wick, and then I'm just going to let those continue to cool. But you can see how beautiful these turned out, and it is so on trend this year. I was really impressed with how all these worked. So don't forget to check out the playlist for all the other creators and their videos. Again, it's pinned in the comment section as well as down in the description. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.